Path of Exile in general has always and will forever be about the endgame. The endless systems, mechanics and choices you can make, but man, it can get complicated, and Path of Exile 2 is no different. If you've just reached the Atlas and find yourself overwhelmed by all the systems, map types, quests, skill trees, and just what to do, don't worry, I've got you covered. In this video, we'll break down the endgame mapping process into simple, easy to understand steps, and wait till the end for some quick tips that really help you progress. So, let's jump right in. The Atlas. Firstly, let's talk about the Atlas. In Path of Exile 2, these waypoints are the new maps. But while in Path of Exile 1, the Atlas was set with only certain routes and map types to take, in PoE 2, the Atlas is random, and the biome around each node determine what that map will be, what the style of it is and how it looks, as well as the monsters in that area. Each map represents a dungeon-like zone, often tied to the narrative or overarching endgame structure of Path of Exile 2 in the way it looks and feels. The Waystones themselves are just like gear. They can have the same amount of affixes. So you've got your normal common whites that don't have any affixes, you have your blue magics that can have 2 affixes, and you have your rare yellows that can have up to 6 affixes to them. These affixes can increase the difficulty and therefore the experience and the drops, what type of damage the monsters do, and how many chests might appear. There's various different affixes that you can look into. Waystones come in tiers 1 through 16, technically. As the tiers increase, so does the mob level and the difficulty. So every additional tier of map increases the monster level by 1, and what affixes might appear on those Waystones. On the Atlas, a green node is a completed node. A blue node is one that is available to run, and a white node is one that is currently out of reach because you haven't done the predetermined nodes to reach it. You can also have red nodes which are technically failed and can't be repeated. To complete a node, you need to defeat all rare monsters in the map, and once complete, that map cannot be rerun, forcing you to have to explore the Atlas. You may notice that there are 2 additional things near your starting ziggurat location. You have the Realm Gate. The Realm Gate can be used to interact with some of the endgame bosses and mechanic bosses such as Breach, but we'll go into that later. And additionally, you have the Vault Reliquary. Now, so far, no one has found a key to open this, so please comment in chat anything you know about it. When you click into it, it shows that you can put a waystone into it. However, it does say that you need a key, as you can see here, meaning when you go back to that reliquary, the waystone hasn't been used. Please. Thank you. Sorry. Quests. So, questing's next. Once you enter the endgame, you should be met with a couple of new quests that will first take you through to your first map and then to your first tower. So the towers look like this, as you can see. These act very much like waypoints or maps, and you need to make your way through them. But once completed, you have the option to put a cursory tablet in them. These are items that drop which have various effects. Worth noting, these can become magic, but not rare. As stated, once you've completed the tower, you can place one of these tablets into it. Now, it's worth understanding, this tablet, as you can see, will affect 8 maps in range, and it will add irradiated. We'll go into what that means in a moment. Once placed in the tower though, it will only affect open waypoints. So if I hit this influence button, it's only going to affect any of these blue ones that are still open, or potentially the white ones I haven't reached. It will not affect any green ones. The reason this is important and key is that if you have a tower with a bunch of maps you don't like around it, if you go and complete those ones that you don't like and leave the ones that you do like open, it's only going to affect those ones. And it's worth understanding that these will overlap. As an example, we have 2 towers here that are both completed. If I were to put a tablet into each of them, they were both going to affect close by waypoints. Therefore, you can end up stacking particular mechanics onto those like this. Once the quest to defeat the first tower is complete and you've added a tablet into it, you will receive the next quest, which will ask you to complete 10 tier 1 or higher maps. As it states, you could complete tier 3, tier 4 maps, however, or whatever you want. However, the next quest after the complete 10 tier 1s is going to be complete 10 tier 2s. Be warned, you can't skip past them, however you can obviously do higher tiers if you want the XP and the loot, etc. Each time you complete one of these quests, such as this here, it will give you a reward. That reward is 2 Atlas passive skill tree points. We'll come back to that in a moment. Early on, you'll receive an additional quest, which will appear to find the burning monolith. This is very much an end goal. Now, as I said, all atlases are random, however, there are a few things that are fixed or will be nearby, them being the realm gate, the reliquary, and this little symbol that points you towards the burning monolith. Here it is. Now you can enter this burning monolith. If you do so, you'll be met with this obelisk, and if you progress past it, you will find a door. The door states, insert 3 crisis fragments to gain access to the monolith, and will give you 3 additional quests to find 3 citadels. The Iron Citadel, the Copper Citadel, and the Stone Citadel. Now these 3 citadels are in completely random directions on the atlas. As of yet, no one has found a pattern as to how to find them. Please drop a comment by all means with any theories you have on how to find these particular citadels or a particular guaranteed way to find them at least. All we know at this point is that they do spawn in particular biomes. The Stone Citadel seems to be likely to spawn near the coast, a mountain range, and towers. The Iron Citadel can be found by small buildings. When navigating around, have a look for these kind of small buildings. These are often signs that point to the citadel, but pay attention to that kind of edge of your fog to see if you can see these buildings poking out and have a look in that direction. The Copper Citadel appears to be the one that is hardest to find, but also furthest away from your starting zone. You do see these tents on the periphery of the citadel itself, as well as the dreadnoughts you can see on the outside of it. You can see what these look like as well up in the map legend, which also gives you the information that I've already stated around what type of nodes these all are. If you hover over them, you can see the Copper Citadel is an endgame area which can be accessed with a tier 15 or above Waystone. Boss of this area will drop a crisis fragment, and it says the same thing for all 3, the Stone Citadel, the Iron Citadel, and the Copper Citadel. So it doesn't really tell you anything about them. We just have to keep moving to find them. So let's get back to the mechanics that you can see on all of these waypoints and what they all mean, and how you can use your precursor tablets to generate them. Firstly, there are a few non-mechanic fixes, which I'll go through quickly. You can see them up on this map legend, but we can also see them across multiple waypoints and nodes across the map. So the first one is Map Boss. Maps will occasionally contain a map boss. These map bosses are extremely powerful monsters that have special mechanics and drop greatly increased rewards. So you can put an affix into your towers to make sure that bosses appear. So you can see one here as an example. It's worth stating at this point that any waypoint can only be attempted once. Now, that doesn't mean that it closes. What that means is any of the affixes on it, such as this one here that has corruption, if I were to attempt this waypoint and fail, the corruption would be removed. However, I could still do the run. So when you attach any of the precursor tablets and generate any of these affixes to the waypoint, you want to make sure that you are prepared to do it and that you can get the rewards from it. Next up on the legend is Irradiated, quite a simple one. It adds +1 to the monster level. This will give higher XP and obviously better loot drops. Similarly, you have Corruption, which adds 1 to the area and the monster level as well. However, Corruption also causes slain monsters to coalesce and manifest more powerful monsters. Corruption also increases the chances of things dropping like Val orbs and corrupted items. So they are the main non-mechanic related affixes that can be added to maps. Now let's move on to the more mechanic based ones. The first of which is Breach. Breach opens a tear in reality that monsters spawn from. Within the expanding circle, there is a chance for shards to drop and clasped hands to appear, which are basically storage chests that when opened have chances to drop shards and corrupted items and breach rings, things like that. The faster you defeat the enemies, the longer the breach will remain open and the more splinters that you can gain. So these splinters or shards, when collected, if you get to 300, you can challenge the boss in the Realm Gate for very unique rewards. Also, during breach encounters, a unique item called a catalyst can drop. A catalyst adds quality to rings and amulets in the same way that an armorer's shard would add quality to a piece of armor. Catalysts come in multiple types, which each enhance a particular type of affix that might be on that ring. So as an example here, you can see an attribute one, or one that will enhance physical modifiers, life modifiers, lightning modifiers. You get the gist. What's interesting about these catalysts more so is the fact that normally when you're placing it on an amulet or a ring, you can only enhance up to 20%. However, if you place it on a breach ring, you can enhance it up to 50%. I won't go into more detail than that at this point. However, that is breach. Next up is Delirium. Delirium spawns a mirror at the start of the map, which once you pass through it, a fog will descend and move across the map. You must defeat enemies within it, and if you step outside of the fog for more than 5 seconds, the delirium will end. Defeating monsters will fill a bar at the bottom left, which every time it fills will give you another item. These are distilled emotions, as well as they can drop simulacrum splinters to form a simulacrum that allows access to the challenge via the Realm Gate near the start of the map. The distilled emotions are very powerful. If you find them, you can right click onto one to open this window. What you can use it for is instilling an additional skill node from the passive skill tree onto an amulet. So I've placed an amulet here. You can use them in different combinations to get different affixes. So this one's giving you insulated treads, gain an ailment threshold equal to the lowest of evasion and armor on your boots. But you can change the combination to try and get different rewards. I'm just clicking a few random ones here so you can see what might pop up. Here we go, critical overload, increased critical hit chance for spells, increased spell damage if you've dealt a critical hit recently. Wouldn't be much good for this build. I'm not using crit. Look out for these because any good build should have a distilled emotion on it. Next up is Expedition. Expeditions are used to set up a chain of explosives to unearth treasures and monsters. If you explode the remnants, you will add modifiers to the encounter. These can drop artifacts which can be spent in the Kalguran settlers for decent loot. In tier 10 plus maps, you can also find Expedition logbooks, which when you bring them to Danig, he'll reveal it for you, giving you the opportunity to explore a brand new map with Expedition style encounters. Next up is Ritual. Ritual altars are encounters in a small area which resurrect monsters when activated. Defeating these earn tribute, which can be used to trade for favors at the altars. You can also reroll and defer those rewards for better rewards in the future. There are unique gear pieces you can trade for, as well as omens, which when held in your inventory can augment the use of exalts or annulment orbs as an example. In addition, if you find rituals in 10 plus tier maps, fragments to the audience with the king can appear, which allows you to fight the ritual boss. I won't go into more here. There are a few additional things you can find within maps, such as unique maps, which as it says here contains a unique map layout which may contain specialized rewards. Unique maps cannot gain additional content, essence, shrines or strongboxes. They look something like this, the Untainted Paradise, which as it states is 322% increased gained experience, but monsters don't drop items. You might also find hideouts. Now, different hideout maps when completed will unlock that hideout for you. Here's an example here of the limestone hideout. If I complete this, I'll unlock it. You can also find wandering traders who may offer different powerful rewards. I haven't actually found many of these. I think I've had one, but essentially they're just a small boat-like island with a trader that sells unique items only. The Atlas skill tree. Just like the passive skill tree, there is a tree to augment your Atlas to have higher chances of certain mechanics or rarity or quantity, or monster pack density. These should really be your focus at first in the endgame progress. Through the Atlas, you get more points for this tree. As I said earlier, every complete tier whatever quests you get will give you 2 points into this Atlas. Here is the Atlas. There are 3 main areas: strongboxes, essence and tablets, rarity and quantity. There are different parts in between, but all I will say for now is strongboxes are not worth doing. At the moment, focus in other areas. Honestly, do what you enjoy before worrying about min-maxing. You can respec this at any point with the same vendor that you respec your skill tree from. You will also notice there are 4 additional trees on the outside of the Atlas tree. These are the 4 aforementioned mechanics: Breach, Expedition, Delirium, and Ritual. These are very much like the Ascendancy trees, in that you get 2 points into each of these trees for completing one of that mechanic's main challenges. After you've done the first one, you need to do it at a higher difficulty. That is obviously the most simplistic form. If you hover over each of the areas, it will explain how you can get points into this. Here you can see the Breach: complete the Twisted Domain to earn points in this tree. For Expedition, defeat Olroth in logbooks to earn points in this tree. In Delirium, complete the Simulacrum to earn points in this tree. And finally, Ritual, complete the Crux of the Nothingness to earn points in this tree. At the top of the skill tree, there are 2 additional trees, the first of which is centered around map bosses above level 79. So once you slay a boss above level 79, you'll earn points in this tree. These will alter map bosses in future maps, so you can see here it will add essence, or it will add a shrine, or it will make it irradiated to increase its level. You get more experience, you can increase the chance of it being corrupted, etc, etc. You get the point. Above this is the Arbiter tree. Now, this is only affected once you complete the Burning Monolith to earn points into it. Honestly, don't worry about this too much. It's going to be a while before you get into the Arbiter. You need to find those citadels first. As I said, this video is very much intended for endgame for dummies, if you like. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about Arbiter and Burning Monolith. However, in a future video, I'll go into that in far more depth. As I said, I wanted to give a few quick tips that I feel will kind of help you move through some of the maps a bit quicker maybe. 1. When completing maps after a certain amount of time, the rares that you need to defeat in order to complete that map will actually be highlighted. So don't worry too much about optimizing the direction you take on that map or trying to hit the fog of war in a particular way, unless you're trying to speed up your loot per hour. If you're getting into that kind of realm, I'm sure you don't need this video. It's more about min-maxing for you. Tip number 2. Item quantity and rarity is very powerful in Path of Exile 2. It not only affects the gear, but also the currency drops. Do not underestimate it. If you can make a build around rarity and quantity, it will allow you to really be able to farm some currency. They're not easy to build, but if you get the right gear, it's very powerful. Tip number 3. Find the biomes and map types you like and focus on those. Working on augmenting the maps to your liking with the towers can really increase the rewards and enjoyment. Particular builds favor particular map layouts more. For instance, the Spark build that I'm using favors a larger kind of map, one that has larger open areas. Little corridors don't work well. Tip number 4, and this is an absolute massive tip. Pause, didn't mean to say it like that. This seems to be really forgotten, and I don't think anyone's talking about it as just a major tip for people to understand. The game doesn't really tell you this either. In Path of Exile 1, if you wanted to increase the tier of your maps, you simply sold 3 of them to the vendor and you would get a higher tier. In Path of Exile 2, you use the Reforger. So you can put 3 tier 1s into the Reforger, hit Reforge, and you'll get a tier 2. This is huge, because the game doesn't tell you this. Or at least, maybe I missed it, but I felt like I had 20, 30, 40 blooming tier 1, 2, 3 maps before I was able to do higher maps, until I found this. So, there you have it. I hope this video helped you and you learned something from it. Please drop a comment below about what helped you, and if you have any strategies to find those citadels. Let me know if there's anything in particular you're struggling with that I can maybe do a video on. Please give suggestions for what you want those detailed guides on. Maybe you need a detailed explanation of the Ascendancy trials or Breach. Please drop a like, hit that subscription button and turn on the notification bell. My next video is going to be detailed around the trade website and trading in the game using the currency exchange, how best to leverage it for your benefit. I really appreciate all the love and support that I'm getting from everyone. The comments have been really useful for me. I'm trying to build this as quick as I can. It's not easy for me to find the time to do it, but I want to get more focused on it. So any love you can give is really, really appreciated. JammyGiraffe, sending positivity as always. Jammy out.